Do you know that feeling of when you've been dieting for days and then you finally step on the scale and you've actually gained weight? Or you look in the mirror and you look exactly the same. I've been there. I used to be 50 pounds heavier, and this was a daily occurrence in my life. Now, if you're here, you're likely struggling to lose weight yourself. So in this video, I'm gonna try and make things a lot easier for you and help you understand some mistakes that you may be making in your own fat loss journey. And hopefully after this video, you'll be a lot clearer on what it is you need to do to actually start dropping some body fat. So let's get into it. So point number one, which is likely the main problem you're actually having. You are not in a calorie deficit. To lose weight, we need to be in a calorie deficit. But the problem is, most people aren't, even if they think they are. Now, there's a lot of variables that go into this. The very first thing that you need to do to make sure that you are in a calorie deficit is track your food. This is the easiest way to measure how much you are intaking on a daily basis. With that tracking, you can now step on the scale every day and monitor and see if that scale weight is trending up or if it is trending down. You can then make adjustments based on that. Again, this is where most people literally go wrong right off the get-go because they are not eating in that calorie deficit, and this is going to be the main driver of your fat loss. If you don't know what a calorie deficit is for you, I've put a link in the description to my free calorie and macro calculator, so go check that out and you can figure out what exactly a calorie deficit is going to be for you and your body. Point number two is following on from what I said with the first point, but ignoring the little things. So what I mean by this is not tracking every little detail. And yes, it does matter. So just saying, oh, I'll just have a few sweets here. Oh, let me just lick the spoon. Let me just put a little bit of sauce on this, or I'll add a little bit of extra oil into the pan whilst I'm cooking. So many variables. But unfortunately, all of these things do add up. So sometimes we are in a calorie deficit, and by snacking and doing these little things that we're picking at throughout the day, they actually take us out of that calorie deficit. So it's actually really important that you don't ignore all of the little details. You genuinely do want to track everything you are putting in your mouth because it does add up and it does make a difference, and it can be the difference of seeing that scale weight trend down or not. Point number three is changing your approach every single week. Everyone wants that magic pill, that quick fix that is going to get them to their results faster. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. And the best thing to do is actually stay consistent and keep doing the same thing that you did last week. As long as you've got the right plan in place from the get-go, you actually just need to stay consistent with it. But what most people do is they let some new information or something they've seen on TikTok get in the way and skew their thought process, and it starts changing what they think they should be doing, when again, in reality, they just need to continue doing what they did last week and do it for the next 6 months to a year. It really is that simple. You can't tell if something is working if you never give it the time to work. So make sure whatever you're doing, stick with it for that period of time, because that is when you will likely see the biggest change. Point number four is most people are not as consistent as they think they are. Now, this could be a little bit of a sore topic for a lot of people, but I hate to break it to you, tracking your food or hitting the gym for only a couple of days of the week isn't gonna cut it. When it comes to being really successful with your fat loss, you really do have to be dialed in 7 days a week. And I'm not saying you have to be absolutely perfect, hitting every macro or, hitting a PB every week in the gym, but it is a 7-day process in a week. You have to be very mindful of what you're doing every single day. If you have 50 meals to eat in a week and you end up eating 45 to 50 of them, you've done amazing. But if you come in and you've only had 25 of those meals, then you're not really going to get the results you're looking for. So you want to be on that higher end of success rate than somewhere towards the lower end. So again, if you're only tracking food and hitting your macros 2, 3, 4 days out of 7, it's just not going to get you where you want to be, and you're not going to get the results you want because you're just not covering that full week. So remember, fat loss doesn't need perfection, it just needs real consistency, and it needs it every single day. My last point here is point number 5, and that is being too rigid with your approach. Now for me, this one hits really deep because I made a lot of these mistakes in the past, and it really held me back for a long time and cost me a lot of progress. And honestly, it destroyed my relationship with food in the long run, which took a long time to build back. Now, I'm sure you've labeled before foods as good or labeled them as bad or just had that all or nothing approach towards something in your life. Now, a lot of people do this with food. They cut out everything that they think is bad for them or everything that is considered unhealthy or contains sugar. And they try and go as hard as possible on eating as clean as possible and following the most rigid approach and plan that doesn't have any fun foods involved. It doesn't have, weekend meals out with friends involved. It just doesn't fit normal life. And for me, this type of restriction doesn't really do us any good for long-term fat loss because it is just too rigid. So when it comes to setting up your fat loss phase and setting up your diet, make sure that you are incorporating an approach that actually works for you. If you need to have meals out on the weekends with friends because that's what you enjoy in your life, set your diet up for that. Make sure you're giving yourself higher calories on the weekends and going slightly lower on the week. In the week when you're more dialed and you're at work and you're busy. Or if you need more calories on training days, make that split and make that adjustment. If you're someone that is a snacker, then, account for a little bit of ice cream or a chocolate bar here or there. That is absolutely fine. As long as it fits into your total calories and macros, that's great. Awesome. Do that. But try not to be so super rigid on following a meal plan that doesn't account for any variation because that gets old real fast. At the end of the day, the best plan and the best approach is the one you're going to stick to. So set yourself up for success by making something that you actually enjoy. Remember these words. People do not fail fat loss because they don't know what to do. They fail because they can't stick to what they already know. A lot of you guys out there already know what to do. You're just not putting it into action and you're not being consistent with it. And sometimes that does come down to the overall approach. So we have to fix those issues before we can even get to being consistent with them. Set the right plan in place and we can roll from there. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I have one-to-one online coaching links in the description where you can work with me one-on-one and we can figure out a plan for yourself. But thank you so much for watching. Please remember to drop a like, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button, and I shall catch you in the next one.